When Hiroto returned home, his wife, Miyako, welcomed him back and was surprised that he arrived late today. But he told her that he had missed his regular train on the way. He then asked where Toko was, and she told him that she hasn't returned yet. Hiroto got worried as he looked at the time on his phone, wondering if she'll be all right, but Miyako was composed as she reassured him that their daughter can handle herself. Back at Eureka's house, her mom held a disturbed look on her face as she asked for her daughter to show her things. With no other choice, Eureka had to obey her. She quickly grabbed her bag and proceeded to drop all her things as her mother watched. Now that she emptied her bag, Eureka proves to her that she's got nothing to hide. As her mother looks into her papers, Eureka pointed at Toko while explaining that she's done nothing and Toko was to blame for it since she made it up, but her mother ignored her and told her to hand over the phone. Eureka declined in a hushed tone. Her mother was stunned seeing how her daughter had refused to heed her request. Eureka held her phone tightly in her arms as she tried to reason with her mother and was wondering why she believed Toko instead of her. Her mom then got up from her seat and slapped Eureka right in the face, which caused her to lose hold of her phone. Eureka was devastated, while Toko saw her phone fall to the ground. Eureka's mom got angry as she told her to watch her tone and know her place. She then pulled Eureka by her hair and stated all the things that she did for her just so she can be happy. Yet she doesn't realize how much she sacrificed for her. As they were fighting, Toko picked up Eureka's phone, then she opened up her gallery and deleted the video with Hiroto. She went to pick her bag up and leave, but before that she opened up her Instagram and went live, recording their entire dispute. The views had quickly gone up, and people were already seeing Eureka getting beat up by her mother. As Toko was recording the whole thing, she put a little grin on her face, and then she rested the phone on a pot and left it recording as she left the house. While Eureka's mother was on a rampage, she could only wonder how things had ended up in chaos. Her mother broke into tears as she wished that her daughter wasn't this much of a burden. Same thing for Eureka, but all she ever hoped for was to have a happy family. At the train station, Toko got a call from her mom, but she told her that she just got held up and was just about to board the train. She looked at her phone and was looking at the video that Eureka recorded with her dad. Then she whispers to herself, reassuring her papa that everything will be all right. The next morning, Hiroto was having a chat with his parents through his phone. After the call, he prepares to leave the room, but he was met with a surprise when Toko showed up and greeted him good morning. Later, his wife greeted him as well and had already made them breakfast. As they're eating, Toko asked her father who he was talking to on the phone. He told her that he was talking to his parents, but she didn't believe him and found it suspicious. He proved her wrong as he showed her his phone log, but Toko was just joking and was sure that her father wasn't a cheater. Hiroto raised his head, seemingly happy, even though he was worried that her daughter had returned home late. But all is well for both, seeing how Toko is as lively as ever. He then picked up the remote and turned the TV on to see the day's current weather. But unfortunately for Hiroto, awful news was suddenly brought to them when they reported a case of a 45-year-old mother accused of assault after beating down her own 17-year-old daughter that was broadcasted on social media, leading to her arrest. It was a dreadful start for Hiroto's morning. But when he looked at Toko, she saw her smiling at the TV, or quite possibly happy about the tragedy happening in Eureka's home. She quickly turned to her father and told him that it's supposed to be sunny today. After a nice breakfast, Toko said her farewell to her father and left to go to school. At school, students inside the premises gossip about the dispute between Eureka and her mother. Later inside the classroom, Toko's classmate was welcomed by the news they were watching this morning. One of the girls then showed her the live broadcast that happened on Instagram and told her that Eureka's mom was arrested. The girls were terrified by the grieving news, but Honda thought they sounded glad rather than upset about it. Then, Toko mumbled to herself. She hoped that her mom would come home soon. Honda turned her head to her as she heard Toko uttered something, but she was told that there was nothing to suspect, and that she's just going to put her bag away. Toko passed by Yoshida's seat and nudged her hand onto her arm, suggesting that she did the dirty work for her. The girls who were friends with Eureka were standing by her table and were upset that they couldn't contact her due to the crisis happening. For now they could only wonder how she's dealing with this mess. Inside Eureka's home, we could see a bunch of bruises laid out across her body after she got beat up by her mother. Outside was her aunt trying to deal with the matters into her own hand, but currently she couldn't handle Eureka since she has family to take care of. Eureka was currently holed up in the shower being taken care of by her aunt, who can't be bothered since she's got a lot on her plate to deal with. Back to the past, when Eureka was back to her consciousness after trying to endure getting beaten up by her mother, she noticed that Toko was gone. But suddenly, the cops arrived at the horrifying scene. The police immediately came to rescue Eureka since the incident was being live-streamed, resulting in a fast response. Amidst the chaos, Eureka's mother was taken into custody due to abuse. As Eureka called out to her mother while the both of them were separated away, her mother, who lost all hope, told Eureka that as a mother she regretted giving birth to her. Hearing her statement caused Eureka to have an emotional breakdown, which is very sad. After that, her mother was never seen again. Eureka's phone kept ringing after she got it back from the police, and it got flooded with notifications from her followers and friends who were worried about her, which caused her to get angry since they don't know the real situation behind the scenes. Suddenly, she stabs the mirror with her scissors to vent her anger, wondering how both her and her mother got punished despite not doing anything wrong. It's not like they wished to be in that kind of situation, right? Eureka blamed Toko for all of the events that happened to her, justifying that she has the right to take what's hers since there's nothing wrong with that. This kind of unreasonable thinking started back in her preschool days. She was jealous of her classmate who got to play as the lead of the story, and as a result, young Eureka pushed her down as a way to steal it from her, which was successful, resulting in Eureka's mother praising her, which then became a trait leading Eureka to grow up completely obsessed with her mother's validation. Eureka must always be number one in everything, so she loathed Toko because she was messing with her plans, which caused a backfire against Eureka. After experiencing a flurry of emotions, she suddenly realizes something. If she were to unalive Toko, there would be no one to stand in her way now. Eureka was in delusion, thinking that if she were to unalive Toko, her mother would come back to her. Eureka gets out of the shower and dresses up without drying herself. She tries to look for something in the kitchen cabinet and takes a knife. Eureka got out of the house, looking all crazy and ragged up, in hopes of her plan to unalive Toko be successful. Eureka walks outside in the middle of the dark, prepared to punish Toko with her own hands with no hopes of forgiving her even if she begged. But suddenly she bumps into someone, causing her to fall down, revealing the contents inside her tote bag. She took a look and tried to scold the person, but upon seeing who it was, she was frightened. It was Eureka's stalker, who had been looking for her for a long time. She was petrified, wondering how the stalker could have possibly found her. He found Eureka because of the live stream that was broadcasted, which gave him the hints he needed. Eureka was uneasy, but she tried to get a hold of the knife as a way to escape herself from the situation. Unfortunately, the stalker gets a hold of Eureka's wrist. Upon massive shock, Eureka seems to have lost her voice, unable to cry out for help since her body won't listen to her. But the stalker reassures her that everything will be all right as he tries to wipe the tears off her face, and as the last action, Eureka, in a soft voice, calls out for her mother. Then she suddenly disappeared in the middle of the dark. At Hiroto's apartment, Toko was happily telling a story to Hiroto, which was about the same as Eureka's story, except more wholesome. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess who was cherished by everyone in the kingdom, but her mother, who was the queen, wouldn't let anyone near her. And then, one day, the princess accidentally met a prince and fell in love with him. When her mother heard the news, she became angry and locked her daughter in the top of a high tower. But his prince didn't give up and overcame all of the trials and hardships just to meet the princess. And fortunately, the princess was rescued by her prince, and they lived happily ever after. After reading the story, Toko questioned her father if she did well in telling the story. Hiroto clapped and complimented her daughter on her good narrating skills, so he asked if Toko was practicing for something. Toko affirmed, since she's gonna be a volunteer for storytelling. After their storytelling, Miyako opens the door and advises the both of them to go eat since dinner is now prepared. Happily ever after, right? That's all for the final part of the manga recap. Hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Have a good day, y'all, and peace.